Today we're going to rebuild the Devilbiss single cylinder direct drive air compressor. First thing is to remove the two fan shroud screws on the front of the fan with a standard T20 Torx bit. To remove those two screws, remove the fan shroud. Next is to remove the 4 bolts for the cylinder head and the head and the valve plate assembly. I'll come back to those in a minute. Remove the 3/8 inch bolt that holds the fan on, and then next we want to remove loosen the T25 Torx bit on the bottom of the connecting rod. That allows you to pull the connecting rod off of the eccentric bearing and pull it out. The connecting rod has got to be removed from through the top of the compression of the cylinder sleeve assembly, and then another T25 bolt here. Pull that off. Pull that bolt out. That removes the piston cap and exposes the compression ring. That's all there is to the disassembly of this unit. The standard K0650 repair kit includes the cylinder sleeve assembly, it includes the compression ring, it also includes the 2 rubber O-ring gaskets that go on the top and the bottom of the valve plate, and the cap screw assembly. Procedure is then, of course, take your connecting rod, put the new compression ring back on it, set the piston cap on top of that. Go ahead and use the new bolt that comes with the kit. The old bolt has been stretched, and so you want to make sure that you use the new bolt. And then, as you're assembling this, you'll notice that the piston rod goes down through the top of the compression of the cylinder sleeve assembly. Notice that on the bottom side of the cylinder sleeve, that this is lipped. There's a lip on the inside of this, and the engineers put a lip on this several years back because they realized that a lot of people were prone to, in the disassembly, they wouldn't take off the head assembly. They would just loosen the connecting rod and pull it out the bottom of the cylinder sleeve, and when they put the new compression ring on, they'd try to put it up through the bottom of it. And on the old style units, on the original style units that did not have a lip on there was a sharp edge on the bottom side of it, and what would happen is that as they would put the compression ring up through there, it would tear or slit in the bottom of the compression ring, and the rebuild process they had just done was negated because they had torn the compression ring. So the engineers put this lip on the bottom side of the cylinder sleeve to make sure that the connecting rod, it won't come out the bottom, it'll only come out the top. So it has to be assembled in reverse order back through this way. Slide this assembly back down through over the top of the eccentric, and then retighten the eccentric, and also double check on the valve plate and head assembly. Look at the valve plate. If the O-rings on the valve plate are not damaged, if they're not torn, if there's nothing wrong with them, don't go to the process of pulling those O-rings out. They're a lot of trouble to get them seated back in exactly right. They're not a wear item. They don't normally go bad. If you don't need to do that, don't get through the aggravation of trying to replace those O-rings. There's not any benefit in doing that. Also, the valve plate and head assembly, it can be assembled with the air filter facing to this side of the motor, or you can turn both assemblies 180 degrees and reassemble it with the air filter on that side. The head has 3 outlet ports, so either method of assembly would still give you an outlet port either out the front or out the back, no matter which way that you assemble this. But there might be some applications to where it'd be of some benefit to have the inlet filter on the opposite side. Put the 4 bolts back in. the fan. Notice on the fan, inside of the fan has some tabs on the inside of the fan that match the tabs on the eccentric to make sure that it lines up and lines up correctly. And then put on back on the shroud again. The air filter assembly on this type of unit, it's a pleated paper element air filter. Generally this style of compressor doesn't require a air filter down to the 4 microns that this one is, this style air filter is good for, but it is of benefit for the freewheel control valve that we'll put on this unit to handle the downstream airflow. Look at it, you can hold it up to the light. If you can see daylight through it, or if you can see light through the filter, it's still probably okay. But be careful in dirty atmosphere environments that these filter elements need to be replaced fairly often. That, and then also make sure that this style of unit is on a dedicated 20 amp circuit. It's a 14 amp motor. They'll be conscious of line loss, and if you mount this thing on the far end of the parking lot, you're probably going to need at least 10 gauge wire for a unit that's mounted that far out, so that you don't get involved in line loss and not having enough power at the motor to run this style unit. In effect, that's all there is to this style of compressor.